Arizona Cardinals fascinate me so much this year. It's a team I could see finishing in the playoff picture for the NFC, or it's a team I could see finishing with a bottom 5 record in the entire league. There's so many possibilities with this team that I can see happening, but I lean towards the positive side of the Cardinals. Now, if you've been listening to me for a while, you know I'm not the biggest Kyler Murray guy, but there are pieces I love around him, including the coaching staff, including James Conner. I really expect Marvin Harrison Jr. to bust out this year, and they had a phenomenal draft class that really gives me hope. So for today's episode, it's going to be a Arizona Cardinals 2025 season preview. Now, the Arizona Cardinals didn't make many splashes in free agency this year, and I really do like that because it's a team that's building up from the draft. They are drafting guys, they are going to develop guys. It's not so much of paying the old vets to come in and take their spots. But there was one signing I loved, and I'm sure Cardinals fans loved it as well. Bringing back Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell was a very solid player for the Jacksonville Jaguars after he left Arizona, and he was solid with the Baltimore Ravens, and he was even solid on the Falcons defense last year. He's not what he once was, and nor can we expect that at his age. But with what he brings is veteran mentorship, that he can be in that locker room, on that defensive line, in the coach's room, doing everything he can to help this young defense progress. I really love Jonathan Gannon as a defensive mind coach. I don't know if he's quite there as a head coach yet, but I very much like his eye for defense, and with how he worked the Philadelphia Eagles when he was there, I see a lot of similarities with the Arizona Cardinals defense right now. Now, I didn't spend too much time talking about the free agency additions, only highlighting Calais Campbell, because I want to spend more time talking about their draft, mainly their first two picks in Walter Nolen and Will Johnson. I had both top 10 grades on as players. I understand Will Johnson had an injury history that had him fall in the draft, and it's a need that you very much question. If it's only a one contract type of draft pick, which I get is a risk, but his talent was there, that I love the Cardinals drafted him. But to start out, we got to talk about one of my draft crushes that was instantaneously the second I started watching draft film, and it was Walter Nolen. Walter Nolen, to me, is just a physical freak. No one in this draft class had all of his tools, all of his athletic traits at the interior defensive line position. There may have been guys you graded out higher because they were more refined, they had better skills, but they didn't have the traits Nolen did, and the traits aren't his only thing. He does have skill as well, it's just not as refined as you want. To throw it back to them bringing in Calais Campbell, a move I really love, and then drafting Walter Nolen, it lit the light bulb in my head, and I smiled from ear to ear. Because that's the perfect guy to mentor a Walter Nolen, to help him see the things of the game that he's going to have to pick up on. To me, Walter Nolen could end up being a top 5 interior defensive lineman by the end of his rookie contract. He is so quick. He is so strong. And one thing that we really need to talk about with him is he made his teammates better at Ole Miss. Something I very much noticed when I watched other Ole Miss players last year was they weren't as good without Walter Nolen on the field. Because when he was on the field, that defensive line looked terrifying. You could not block them because he was getting so much attention. If they had to sub him out, you instantly saw, well, this defensive front isn't as terrifying as it was. And I think that's a lot due to Walter Nolen. Even though there were NFL draft picks on that line, Nolen was carrying the weight to me in that entire front seven. And that's very impressive in the SEC. He was going against SEC offensive linemen. It's the closest skill gap to the NFL. It's still a big leap. But he was dominating them week in, week out. He's someone I just loved when I started watching his film. And I just kept on growing more and more fond of him as we got closer to the draft. To the point I did end up with a top 10 grade on him. Now to talk about Will Johnson, and I think this may have been their best pick in the draft due to value. I loved Walter Nolen. I think I gave a good description as to why. But Will Johnson, to me, had all the tools to be the number 1 graded cornerback in this entire class. I understand injuries will have a player fall, and I fully understand that. Teams don't necessarily want to take that risk. But with Will Johnson I never felt like he relied so much on his athleticism that if he did have an injury that may limit it, it's going to ruin him completely. To me, Will Johnson was always a very cerebral, a very quick reader type player. He has great reaction timing, which I think makes up for any potential lack of athleticism he would possess as he goes forward in his career with knee injuries. He is very quick-witted. He will jump routes. Does he sometimes take a gamble you wish he didn't? Yes, absolutely, but he's still a young cornerback that's going to learn and get better. In my opinion, for pure cornerbacks, he was better than Travis Hunter in this past draft class. I understand why teams took Hunter first, and I understand why Johnson fell. But when you put on that cornerback tape and you see how quick he is at reading the quarterback, how quick he is at jumping routes, it's not just pure speed. It's smarts. It's football intelligence. And that's what I love to see teams build off of in the draft, is that they can take the skill guys, they can take the traits guys like you did with Walter Nolan, but you also take the guys that just get the game well. They have the quick processor that really helps them see the entire field. That's what Will Johnson possesses. Now, with me talking about the previews, I have to talk about something I could see going wrong for the Arizona Cardinals, and that would be Kyler Murray. I am not Kyler Murray's biggest fan, and if they fell face first, it would be because he didn't live up to the expectations that a lot of people placed on him this year. I think he is a solid quarterback, but I don't see him playing above a mid-tier quarterback, which is something I very much question with the Cardinals as they progress in this rebuild, as they keep on building towards a hopeful championship contending team. I don't know if Kyler Murray will ever be that guy. You have concerns about him reading the defense because he is smaller and you can't see the middle of the defense as well. You also have concerns of his injury history. Kyler Murray is not the biggest guy in the world. He takes hits and he doesn't absorb them as well as, say, a Josh Allen does because his size doesn't really allow that. His body just is against him in that matter. Now, Kyler Murray does have some natural skills that really pop. He's very quick. He has a cannon of an arm. But my concerns are, is he the guy to take the Cardinals to the next level? And I still don't see it, but I could very much be wrong if they can mold the offense around him to work to perfection. Kyler really works well with big-bodied receivers. It's easier for him to see, and he can throw a lot of contested catches to them. Marvin Harrison Jr. does need to pick up that slack and become that number one guy that Murray can throw those 50-50 balls to down the sideline. It's why we saw Murray and DeAndre Hopkins have such great success. Minus the fact DeAndre Hopkins was a beast in his prime, but he's the type of player that fits with Kyler Murray extremely well. I think that the Cardinals have a chance to contend for the division. And why? Because I expect this defense to take a leap. I've already raved about Walter Nolan. I think Will Johnson is going to very much help them. But let's also look at the fact that the Cardinals were improving as the season went on last year. The Cardinals, after their bye week in Week 11, gave up 16 points, 23 points, 30 points, 17 points, 36 points, 13 points, and 24 points. That's not bad for an NFL, especially with a younger defense. The Cardinals are going to get better, and they have the tools to make that jump. I think Walter Nolan is going to be a guy in the Defensive Rookie of the Year category. By the midway point of the season, I think it's going to be so undeniable how much he transforms that interior defensive line, which is going to help plug rushing lanes, which is going to force teams to look the opposite way. It's going to force them into more passing situations, but here's the thing. Walter Nolan is a very good pass rusher, and Jonathan Gannon is a very good blitz schemer. He schemes up very well how to get pressures on quarterbacks. I think this is a very good young team that's going to start coming to its own very soon. In fact, I have them finishing second in the NFC West. I think they can contend for the division title, but I need to see a little bit more here still. They remind me a lot of the early years of Dan Campbell with the Detroit Lions. I'm expecting them to make that jump, and I think they're very talented and can have that key. Now, their one X-Factor player that I think is the key for them to be in contention for a division title and to make the playoffs would be James Conner. James Conner is their best offensive weapon because he opens up that offense so much. His rushing ability has teams playing more downhill. They're more afraid of him beating them than letting something go over the top. That opens up play action. That opens up more ability to get the ball past the secondary. James Conner, if he has a great season, I think the Cardinals will make the playoffs. If he doesn't, I don't think they come close, which is very interesting because I do love this team. But that offense, I have a lot of question marks about, and it really revolves around how much can James Conner do. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. If you'd share this, I'd greatly appreciate it. This is the first of 32 team previews. I am doing alphabetical order. The order will just be where their location is in the list of the NFL. Up next will be the Atlanta Falcons. Thank you very much for watching and have a great day.